And it certainly happened with the Fatima children.
Early on, the children were told that 2 of them would die and would go to heaven, and the other one would remain for many years. Now, this has absolutely happened, and it happened right away. It's an epidemic which was going on. And this is hardly a thing that children could have foreseen or would have created for themselves.
In the case of the 3rd child, we have overwhelming evidence. She desired nothing but the religious life from the time that this happened. She has been in the cloistered Carmelite house at Coimbra since 1940. That she wants, that she welcomes a life of total devotion to God and to the Blessed Virgin.
"45 years later, Lucia still lives in a convent. With her remains the last message, or perhaps a final prophecy from Fatima. Whichever it is, Lucia has only shared it with one other person, Pope John Paul II. Some speculate that their shroud of silence covers some future catastrophe, but it's a secret that apparently will never be known. But perhaps the essence of that secret can be found elsewhere. Garabandal, Spain. Another sleepy little town, another place to play host to reported supernatural events. The year was 1961, and the phenomena that happened here were eventually well recorded. But in the beginning, there was nothing but the words of worried children. 4 little girls, Conchita and Mary Cruz, were enjoying a day like any other. They had been stealing apples when a loud noise marked the beginning of a string of events that would reportedly last several years.
It was pretty foggy. It looked like the fog became high, like a very, white light. And I remember to hear a noise like a thunder. It was a big bump.
They became very frightened. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. And the oldest girl, Conchita, suddenly falls on her knees. Her head goes back. She's looking up toward the sky. Her complexion changes, and the other 3 girls, believing that she has become ill, get ready to run to call her mother. But they don't get very far because the exact same thing happens to them. When they are normal again, they head in the direction of the village, and the people, seeing them approach, say, "What is it? What's happened? Why do you have such white faces, such strange looks?" And all together, in one voice, they say, "The angel, the angel. We have seen the angel."
The children were accused, but many were still curious. And when the news spread, people swarmed to the village to awaken, a sign that would give credibility to the angels.
It was with a crash. Times you could actually see their hands end up brush the dirt off their knees.
And mystified, Garabandal became phasing phenomena continued. This is Mary Loli supposedly levitating. More remarkable than in this state of ecstasy, 4 men could...
The girls running backwards, regardless of the day. They actually ran as though they had wings on their feet.
Community arrived.
They would burn a matchstick in front of their eye to see if they would flicker their eye. They stuck lights in their eye.
Keeps on repeating.
Thousands of ecstasies as the night of...
The people, they said, can't come for them, and they fell into ecstasy in the most terrible, except at a certain... And they're going to attempt to kill one. Advertisement is more terrible than we can possibly imagine because it changes our ways in life and we make our lives better. Then we can hold back the chastisement.
It's been more than 20 years now that...
To me, like, happened to somebody, I think anything.
Their time in Garabandal has long since passed, but the events there, the end they predicted may be near. But they're not talking that information until days before the final moment. The events at Garabandal and Fatima are both decidedly ways in which prophecy can be received, called the sleeping prophet. Those who claim beautiful women, the power to heal or pull these gifts, was an American named... Casey may have been history's most documented psychic. He was a humble man. whose powers were a gift.
What to call Edgar Cayce has always been a problem. Idol of prophet that carries so much sense of importance and to be self-important.
Dad considered his ability as a gift from God wanted to do.
Born in rural Kentucky in 1870, showing remarkable qualities, even as a boy.
When Edgar Cayce was young, he had kind of an unusual ability. He told his mother that he would communicate with grandfather, and to him this was not unusual at all.
Edgar Cayce did have a boyhood vision. He was off playing in the woods in a place that was his own private way and think about things. And he heard a voice.
Edgar. To the sky and saw
Edgar. Well, help people? I want to help people.
That decision on Edgar Cayce's part as a young boy set a tone for his life, that he was having a very difficult time with his spelling.
B.
Again. One way or another, you're going...
And it was the voice of the to him in the woods.
Sleep, and we shall help you.
And he lay down with his head on his spelling book.
Wake up. Let's try one more time. Spell cabin.
CABINRAGONFLY. ONY, page 48. It's like...
And to raise a family.
Hypnosis was a kind... And someone suggested, well, why not hypnosis? You've tried everything else.
Put in a deep hypnotic trance, restored his voice in what witnesses report to be an astonishing cure. Fatal tuberculosis.
In order to go about the work of helping other people. My wife got well. My son...
Had spread of his power him for help with their most baffling cases.
When Edgar Cayce would give a reading with his wife, literally go into a listen receiving. Cayce was literally address to where they lived, may have been hundreds of miles away.
We are on Staker, Story House, the kitchen. Something is burning. We are in an attic. Nice red pajamas. Now we have the body.
And identify.
We are inside to the arteries, lungs. Pain. Lesion is from the bite of a tiny bee. Apply oil of smoke for 2 weeks. Will save. Bancroft Pharmacy, Chicago. Back shelf. Top right.
Out of luck. Medicine. Company went bust.
So they did they would ask again about a situation. And the response, in essence, was, yes, they do too. Hounds found it where you said.
With Cayce's methods. Several doctors inside the Met set out to prove him a fraud.
One of them said that they would prove that Edgar Cayce was not in a trance, so they took a needle, poked it through his cheek, and took a scalpel and really tore off his small fingernail. No response, again, from Cayce, who woke up in absolute agony and vowed that he would never again try to prove anything to any professionals against psychic ability.
Written offers turned to Cayce as their last hope.
The nerves that were governing the brain, they literally sent a dentist into the to make a bit of difference. Within several days, she wife, who was conducting the reading, to give him the suggestion.
Wake up.
Did we get it?
Maybe, but something's very queer. After inflammation of the spleen, pancreatitis...
Had been mysteriously cut short. The ill patient had died. While in a deep trance, how to heal, but awake.
It was very... than anything else.
Get away with anything. You couldn't lie to him or done, and pretty soon I didn't try.
Not only was Cayce, he could also see a person's life force, an aura of life.
Idea what that wretched Fitzgerald woman across the street just said to me.
See a red aura all around you. Please come back when you're not quite so angry.
At one time saved his life. Step into an elevator, turn surrounding the bodies of people around him. It was a natural thing for him. He instantly knew he was. The cable on the elevator snapped. He was only killed.
become the sleeping prophet.
On these centers, but a closing of the board.
Prophecy of the 19th or the discovery of land
of the comet.
He was able to...
including polar shifts.
There will be a shifting of the pole.
Change that would be big enough.
Coastline now.
Or somewhat.
Would this body can help her? What can you do, please?
Subject of study by scholars and scientists. Seeing into the future was not a skill to be learned. They're seemingly chosen. The gift of prophecy appears in all Americans, and sometimes this prophecy is transitory through another person, if you like. One such American woman by the name of Mary Summer Rain, name of... not as a prophet, but rather as a messenger, and she was given a name, Summer Rain, by her mentor and guide. This was the woman known as No Eyes.
And to forecast what was going to happen. The greatest visionary of our time.
Mary was living with her husband in suburban Michigan. She had a prophetic dream that signaled her future.
I had a dream that at the end of my bed, and she had a message.
You're not who you think you are. Soon you move west.
I didn't know if it was really a dream, or I talked it over with my husband, Bill. Plans to move west. We did move to Colorado.
While in Colorado, Mary... But after hundreds of letters of rejection, she...
Last rejection back, I was very depressed, slipping out into the woods. I didn't know where. I walked over to a log, and I cried my eyes. I had the chills go up my back, and I looked up in the pines.
Summer Rain, you come.
My God, it's you.
She led me up to her cabin and found for 2 years.
Some are going to hear about signs and sounds.
She taught me all the old ways. Eventually, it got into more visions, how to see into the future. I had many ways of receiving visions. She had natural ingredients, one by one, until images would appear in the rising smoke.
No ox. A bird that would rise from Mother Earth amidst terrible devastation.
When great phoenix come out of Earth Mother, her skin mad.
You mean earthquakes?
Great storms come. They cover all towns. Summer and all mix up.
Floods, earthquakes. Mother Great Phoenix also warned No Eyes of upheaval.
Bodies hit the ground, and hippos moan in great sickness.
Why?
Countries gonna be angry with each other. New countries gonna make nuclear bombs too.
No Eyes, what is the Phoenix doing now?
He cry in great wail for people's future.
Mary Summer Rain believes that when No Eyes died, she left her with a very important mission.
Promise to write of our times together so that her wisdom and her message would not end with her.
Through the teachings of No Eyes, natural disasters to befall the earth. Others share the same. Among them, a man from the northeast corner of America by the name of Gordon. Scallion claims that he sees a time when all life may perish.
In 98, the Earth becomes very quiet. The animals are quiet. From the east, it was hurricane velocity. The sun reversed its direction in the sky. The oceans themselves buckled, and land masses were thrust up. Can't even begin to add in the nights where I've just emotionally just totally lost it.
Scallion claims to live with a nightmare. Clismic earth change disaster by the year 2000. Gordon Michael Scallion didn't ask to become a prophet. In 1979, the gift of prophecy chose him.
Prior to 1979, I had absolutely no belief system in the field. My background was more scientific, more electronic. I was a communicant, and I lost my voice one day.
Field operations to corporate headquarters and management oversight. Thirdly, wideband ground.
It looks like he's choking. It was like someone went in and removed my larynx. I was with that day, thought I was having a stroke. That placed me for observation to see what was wrong. And that night, while in the hospital, a vision appeared and terrified me. The vision was a vision of a woman who seemed to float into the room and gave me some instructions, told me to write down what she was going to tell me. And I did. And what she told me was the beginning of prophecy as I've come to know them.
The next morning, Scallion says his voice mysteriously returned.
Good morning, Mr. Scallion. How are we feeling?
Better, thanks.
This says you can't speak.
I guess I'm okay. Wait a minute. There's something wrong with my eyes. It's like a weird glow or something.
Scallion was unaware he had just seen what he now believes to be his first aura.
I said, there's still something wrong with me. You better check my eyes now.
Okay, Mr. Scallion, put your...
And they gave me an eye exam there, and they said there's nothing. Began to do some conventional therapies, psychologists, MDs, and that continued. And I decided that if I stop work, and it did for about a month. One of the things that happened immediately thereafter is my vision became very distorted.
Supposedly read auras, look inside the body and detect disease. Soon the sick and desperate began showing up at his door.
Gordon Michael Scallion?
Yes?
Chris, and I'm his mom.
I'm sorry.
And I've heard that...
Stop. I can't do it. Doctor, I can't help. Muscle's okay. That's why they don't know what it is. He's been poisoned. Heavy metals. 2 years ago.
His world of science and logic had vanished into a foreign land, a land of auras which took him into deep trances. In these unconscious states, sometimes babbling about geological disasters. When he awoke, he remembered nothing, but he was always filled with a sense of impending doom. When his wife, Cynthia, first witnessed her husband's deep trances, she didn't know what was recording his unconscious states. It was soon geological events.
When he did go into a deep trance, his body would manifest. His body would go into almost a slump, and then he would...
7.4, early February, a fault running east to a forerunner of 8.1 Richter upward plate.
Go and take a nap after I have one of these. That when I'm at my word processions.
Scallion claims as simultaneous tornadoes in the years leading up.
And I'm given the warning signs of what the sequence would be. The kind I see are the actual collapse in panic, the actual people in communities. I see car symbols on the side.
If even a percentage of his Scallion decided he could still help save lives. In 1991, he began publishing his prophecies of future disasters in the Earth Changes Report.
The newsletter is a way with the public some of the prophecies that Gordon sees for the future in the United States and the rest of the world.
When Hurricane Andrew occurred, a year ahead of time, I warned about it. And then even a month before, I knew the direction it would come, the wind velocity, where it would land. And I warned as many people. Since 91, when I began publishing the Earth Changes Report, that were significant were that first that LA with earthquakes on April of 92, right? The floods in the Midwest and the Mississippi, eruptions of Mount Pinatubo.
Scallion and his wife transformed their home into the Matrix Institute, a 24-hour hotline access to Scallion's prophecies occurring or predicted to occur within any given month.
I created a map of the future United States. This was a map that was a consolidation of the visions that I was receiving, and it represented what the United States would look like in 2001. So the new way in the area of Nebraska, down through Boulder and Denver, through this area is the new West Coast. And California has become a series of islands. Here, the Mississippi has expanded, the Great Lakes have merged. Good portions of New Jersey go underwater. Some of the changes occur abruptly, some of the changes give us warning signs. The worst places is wherever you are when something like this explodes.
What he once considered a burden, Scallion now calls. Gordon Michael Scallion believes his prophecies will help mankind prepare for the future.
One is, it's given to help us prepare, or it helps us to change what the outcome would be. Life could be significant unless we heed the warnings.
Warning signs of prophetic voices have predicted worldwide up future. But a few have taken action to ensure their survival. Montana, Big Sky country, land of cattle ranches in Yellowstone National Park, and home to 3,000 people prepared for global apocalypse. For the members of Church Universal and Triumphant, Royal Teton Ranch, Montana, is a physical and spiritual home. There they practice their New Age Christian faith and find refuge from the outside world. The church is led by Elizabeth Clare Prophet, teacher, author, and to her followers, divine messenger. Her gift of prophecy foretells a dark future.
It's a period of our lives. We see this in disturbances in the elements. The upheavals of tornado, of flood, tremendous storms, the Mississippi, the Missouri, sudden deaths. We see it in the last plagues. We see it in cancer and AIDS, in all kinds of incurable diseases. These are coming upon us.
Determined to survive, Prophet's injunction to construct dozens of bomb shelters beneath the rolling country.
Their main shelter complex is the large fallout shelter in this country. They have everything in there that they feel to reestablish themselves on the earth after a major apocalypse has destroyed everything.
The bunkers range from family size, designed to house 600 staff members. Each is stocked with everything from water wells and septic systems to shortwave radio and games.
You must be difficulty can arise in which all of a sudden you may find that you don't have access to a store, so you can't get food. You don't have access to water. And we all need water and food to live.
Disruption of the civil order. In other words, the trucking breaks down, shipping breaks down. A lot of people are just simply not going to have food.
The rise and fall of...
I awakened at 3 and 4 in the morning, the day the 100 points. I saw all that ahead of time.
Children are yet carefree, and let that place be called the Royal Teton Ranch.
Clare Prophet is an authentic spiritual leader. The people I've met in Church Universal and Triumphant were either very to begin with or else following those teachings and following that path.
The church is a highly diverse community with a shared belief in self-reliance. It is much of its own food. It runs its own school system. And the favored entertainment comes from a musical group comprised entirely of church members, the Paradise Players. The community also believes Asian, and that means preparing for the worst.
We're sure that we have hospitalization insurance, accident, theft, and all these other things. And yet, when we look at the plan, if you really look around, you'll see that there's war all over the place.
That if someone ever pushes the button, but if there's a killed, the problem that I see is that many more people, and that to me that's a great tragedy.
From dying. So to me, shelters are the way to do eventuality of Earth changes. Major changes may be coming upon this planet. One day, the only place to be safe, we shouldn't plan on dying. We should accept life and know that we have to pass on our culture to posterity. So I have on every continent, and they have centers, they have shelters. I have placed the repository of the entire body of our teachings and in many nations on microfiche. 500 years from now or 1,000 years from now, when technology is back on its legs, we will find that these groups of people all over the world have evolved and developed and maintained civilization by the end of the 20th century.
Elizabeth Clare Prophet and her relatively small group of followers have planned for a destiny that they believe is inevitable. But centuries ago, a book was written that is said to foretell of a similar fate. There is an ancient document which warns us that perilous times shall come. The Bible also speaks of healing, miracles, and resurrection. But Revelation, the final chapter of the New Testament, suggests that the biblical predictions of the apocalypse, the return of Christ, and the battle of Armageddon may all come to pass. And they were cast upon the earth. Trees were burnt up, and all green grass was burnt. And as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea. A haunt 2,000 years. This ancient document is a fascinating source of prophecy to our time, and is the apocalypse, or in other words, the end of time. Dr. Charles Strozier believes the signs are all around us, of apocalypse on the psychology.
Revelation is a highly symbolic book. So I would call it a myth formation that moves through violence is the regenerative mode. People have to be changed, cleansed. Human history has to be cleansed and ended. This new creation, this new recreation.
Created, the so-called end time, a culture and tribulation, the conclusion of God's time, the Antichrist.
Image of Antichrist is a very important part of the end time process. He feels himself as a messenger of peace. And it's a false peace that lulls the nations to sleep. The psychological message is beware the peacemaker. It indicates in the minds of a quarter of the population a deep move toward peace. That matters in a democracy.
The Bible is said to predict that the 10 nations will unite under his leadership. Interpret this as the nations of the European common mind.
The idea, though, is that Antichrist is crucial to that unfolding for history to last.
Revelation tells us the Antichrist will force his followers associated with the number 666. Some by marks will separate the faithful from the damned. The Reverend this way.
There's no question that the Bible lies in satanic worship at the end of time. Lies that we are under the Antichrist. During his last, Christ becomes a Hitler tried to do what Hitler tried to do.
The Bible warns us of deadly. There shall be signs in the moon. Reverend.
There will be an earthquake and destroy than any earthquake.
We know it. Some Christians believe Antichrist can be saved through the miracle of the rapture.
The Bible and things, we see things in the news.
Battle called Armageddon, completely destroyed. It will take 7 months to bury the dead after the apocalyptic clear battle of Armageddon in the heart of the Mideast.
Not to imagine at some time those in existence. And that's what's new. It makes a difference that it is a prophecies say it's all about thing we can have is faith and commitment to grab some meaning for our lives. In the end, it'll all be destroyed.
The Bible's prophecies have long been scholars and religious leaders kind. But beyond the predictions of the printed word, what actual occurrences point to such calamities? The answers can be found all around us. We're approaching the end of the millennium, and the year 2000 is the termination of life on Earth. Why have they chosen this moment in time? Are there current signs that the apocalypse may soon be upon us? It is a unique period in the history of the world. We have reached a time where population growth of the planet's natural resources are producing profound environmental with catastrophic consequences. Earthquakes occur with greater frequency and more depth. How can these increasingly...
We are loading packs which...
Extreme weather as a part of the... not only affect the weather, they greatly impact health. The effect of the depletion of the ozone. Harry